I'm a breed of crime and wholesale corruption. You say I'm pure and then I'm dilutable. And once I'm in your blood, I'll make it pursuitable. And I heard an old lady say, sing it on, son. She said, sing it on, son. She said, I lost my son. They're gone on away, so sing it on so you might save a life. Lord, I start to sing it. I said,
New York City, the fast-paced concrete jungle. And in a New York minute, what's in today is out tomorrow. What's hot this week is cold next week. New York City is the media, financial, and fashion capital of the world. And in Harlem, during the 60s and 70s, was the drug capital of the nation. The heroin epidemic was at an all-time high. The product was let in, while the resources was taken out, which resulted in young hustlers. But the flip side is the misfortune rarely talked about: the young users.
The use of heroin has grown until today its use is described as epidemic. A Justice Department official says the number is far greater than we care to think about.
Walter Vandermeer should not be labeled as an addict or a user. Walter was a little boy that was abused all of his 12 years of life, starting in the home. Walter was searching for guidance, looking for the love from a mother or father. Walter was looking for a family. Unfortunately, Walter lived on the same block that was named the heroin epic center of the nation, 116th Street and 8th Avenue, and that's where Walter found the illusion of a family, or escapism for his trauma.
Just look what you've done. Just look what you've done. Just look what you've done.
Walter grew up on the west side of Harlem, 117th Street between Manhattan and 8th Avenue, at a time when the heroin epidemic was at its peak stages. His neighborhood was considered the heroin capital of America. At this time, a New York City special prosecutor had announced that Harlem was the drug trafficking center of the nation. One former NYPD officer from the time noted that people would come from as many as 5 states, and maybe more, to buy heroin in Harlem.
Listen to me very carefully so you have a crystal clear understanding of how things was. It was a time when Harlem was narcotic central for the eastern seaboard, from Maine to Miami and everything east of the Mississippi River. If a motherfucker wanted some heroin, he had to come to Harlem.
The neighborhood had finally made the news, locally and international. But the spotlight wasn't because of the epidemic. Kennedy says it was robbery. Police say it was drugs. David Kennedy, the 24-year-old son of the late Senator Robert Kennedy, says he was flagged down and robbed by 2 men as he was just riding through Harlem on Wednesday. But a police narcotics division source says Kennedy was known in the area and was apparently there to buy drugs.
Kennedy got busted with drugs and shooting drugs in the hotel up here. And they used to catch him. They used to see him. The white people used to see the Kennedy and tell him, you have to leave Harlem. Because the only thing what are you doing is this. This is what you're doing. You coming up here to buy drugs.
For a 10-year-old to be left to take care of himself in that environment is a harsh order. Walter was one of 9 children from a single-parent household. His father was deported when Walter was only 6 months old. Walter, at a young age, never received the love that children need as an important part of their development. The lack of love and caring led to Walter becoming aggressive at times. Although Walter was described by many as being a lovable kid, the lack of proper guidance and love from the sanctuary of one's home can be devastating for a child. And Walter was no different. When Walter first started school, teachers would notice he was absent often and would fall asleep in class. By the time Walter entered the 3rd grade, he was suspended from school. The school referred his case to the Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Children, and it was there that Walter was entered to family court. At only 9 years of age, Walter's mother asked the court to remove him from her custody because he had bad influences at home. Walter's teacher described him as intelligent. So the question has to be asked, was Walter's mother trying to save him from an abusive home, or was she abandoning one of her 10 children?
My son be out here in the street selling papers for his own fit, for what he see fit to do with his own money, and that other people out here have children. They should stop the drug addicts or whoever giving to them, the grown-ups around here that giving these children drugs.
The courts made a decision to remove Walter and his younger brother from her care and placed him in Queens at a children's shelter. Within 2 months, Walter was transferred to another children's shelter in Manhattan. Family court then released him back to his mother's care after 5 months, and now back in the middle of the drug capital of America. At this time, Walter was assigned to a school for troubled youth, but he was a no-show. Walter's godmother, Miss Banks, was crazy about him, and she tried to step in to help.
Walter, to me, was a nice little boy. I was crazy about him. I wanted to keep him here with me, but I couldn't because I didn't have enough room. I have 5 children of my own. I couldn't keep him here.
Did you know
He's been here from time to time. I've taken him in, I've bathed him, I've bought him little things. I would have liked to have kept him, but I couldn't. I've known him from the day he was born. Then I guess I took more of an interest in him because you know a person, you try to help them out. I'm just sorry that I wasn't able to do more to help him.
For a year, Walter roamed the streets packing bags at supermarkets and selling heroin just to survive. Family court then sent him to a residential treatment center for what they define as disturbed children. The constant shuffling of Walter by family court caused more trauma in his life, without addressing what caused Walter to be in that predicament, which was the environment in an abusive home. Putting that blame fully on a 10-year-old child may have been too much for Walter to handle. In less than 2 years, young Walter was sent to 4 different shelters and institutions for disturbed children. The last one was located in Westchester, and he ran away from this institution 4 times.
This is an open facility. All the cottages are open. Boys can move freely around. And boys run for a number of reasons. This is a pretty distant place from the city. There isn't the comfortable noise of the traffic and the people moving around. And that can be scary for a boy when he first comes to Wiltwyck. And if a boy is inclined to run from problems, he may run. He may run when he's scared.
Family court and his family all gave up on Walter, but the streets of Harlem and the addicts didn't. Older teenage addicts took Walter in as he began to hang out with them. A child with no supervision and untreated abuse, left on the cold streets of the heroin capital of the nation. What was a 10-year-old to do? Walter could do nothing but survive the only way his young, undeveloped mind could. Heroin use was not discriminating in the 60s, adults, teenagers, and kids, was hooked on this product.
This is a known shooting gallery. They go in here and they dive down into this hole here.
Hey, Jim, what's wrong with you, man? Hey, man, what's wrong with you? You alright? Hey! Oh, man.
This is not an OD.
Hey, why you bring this sucker up here, man?
This is not an OD. Look at it.
And it was those teenagers, who themselves, many coming from abusive situations, whose mental capabilities was not fully developed, was now guiding Walter.
Jay Pressman talked with a friend of Walter's, a 17-year-old boy who is now receiving treatment for heroin addiction at Odyssey House.
Were you surprised when you heard he had died?
First it shocked me, like, then, then I said I knew it was gonna come sooner or later.
Why would he want to shoot more than 2? I mean, if you were satisfied with 2, why would he want to shoot 5 bags?
These were the individuals that Walter was now around and fell victim to heroin. 11-year-old Walter was looking for someone to depend on, no different from any other child at that age. Walter was now addicted to heroin, the most difficult substance to kick. 40 to 60% of adults relapse within the first year of treatment. So how would an 11-year-old child have the ability and resources to kick the drug? It's nearly impossible. Living in an abusive home, society failed Walter. Family courts failed him, and his environment failed him. What happened to the saying, "It takes a village to raise a child"? On December 19th, 2 weeks after his 12th birthday, wearing a Snoopy shirt that read, "I wish I could bite somebody. I need a release from my inner tensions," Walter Vandermeer was found unalive in a Harlem bathroom floor, with heroin paraphernalia surrounding him. Walter's funeral was attended by many from the community, as well as family and friends, including 4 sisters and 4 brothers. A 5th brother was escorted from Rikers Island to the church early in the day, so he could view the body. He was then returned to Rikers Island, where he was serving 3 years for robbery. Walter is believed to have been the youngest person in the city to die of an overdose of heroin. Dr. Michael Bodden, associate medical examiner, said the boy had been taking heroin for a number of months. The Reverend Ernest Cook of the Paradise Baptist Church officiated at the funeral. For 3 days, hundreds of people had filled into the small funeral parlor. Many of them were adults who said they had seen the boy on the block, where he was a familiar figure selling newspapers and sometimes carrying groceries for tips. Many of them asked about the little fellow who died, but most of the visitors were school children his own age, or just a little bit older. "Is Walter here?" they would ask as they entered. Sometimes they would linger around the open coffin, then sign the guest book and leave. Often they would stand near the coffin and recall little details about him. The congregation of more than 250 sat quietly throughout most of the sermon. But there were moments when Mr. Cook's words brought shouts of "Amen." And that's right. There are many broken-hearted mothers here in Harlem tonight, the minister said. It isn't because you haven't tried. It's because there's someone just around the corner who'd rather give your child a drink of liquor than a drink of water. Most of those in the church appeared to be friends from the neighborhood. Assemblyman Hulain Jack, who early in the week accused the Board of Education of gross negligence in having expelled the boy from school, also attended. Walter was a boy starved for attention and affection. It just got to the place where he just roamed the streets. What Walter found in the streets were friends who introduced him to heroin. About 50 children between the ages of 14 and 16 died that year from overdoses of heroin. And the next year, the number among teenagers had risen threefold, with 800 unalived from heroin. 200 were under 19 of age. Walter spent his short life looking for a father surrogate. His search was limited to the area around Harlem's West 116th Street. He learned about hustling, dope, and sex before he was 10. On many days, he was left with potato chips and soda as his only meal. Walter needed food to eat, clothes to wear, adults to model himself after, toys to play with, and a place to live. He needed love, support, and dependability. He was given none of this. His family was evicted from their apartment for not paying rent. They moved into a single room at a friend's home. There was only one bed for all 6 of them. In the weeks before his death, Walter had been through a lot. Someone dropped a brick on his head, causing an open wound that required stitches. A few days later, he was hit by a car. A week after that, he fell from a fire escape. Robin Kelly, a professor at UCLA, wrote, "Walter became the poster boy for the new war on drugs. The state used his death to criminalize drug addiction, expand police presence, and prioritize punishment over therapy, while simultaneously waging war on community groups such as the Black Panthers and the Young Lords, which had developed effective ways to resist the drug economy and treat addiction."
There were 7 members in the council.
There's Frank, there's Ishmael, Gaps, there's Jazz, there's Guy, and myself.
All black motorcycle riders ain't gang members. And there's a lot of niggas in all different kind of clubs. But the motorcycle set check, it shows you that this is what you are. It teaches you brotherhood.
DC came to be known as the murder capital of the country.
My little man Pop, I was introduced to him by some other cat, and through him I wound up meeting another cat named Wayne Perry.
When Poe hooked up with Wayne, that was the best thing that happened to Poe. Poe had the money and the coke. Wayne had the power.
Right, C7, how many bottles? I need a calculator. Oh my God!
One of Floyd fight weekends, I did Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I made $37,000. I had 2 hotel rooms, one for just my money, one for me to stay there. I learned a lot, and like I said, it was like the female drug game.
With hidden microphones strapped to their bulletproof vests and fluorescent powder sprinkled on money they use for drug buys.
150 miles north of Miami, a police sting operation.
Law enforcement appears powerless to stop it.
Show me where the money is.